Good morning. Hello. Wow. This is the most on time I think I've ever been. It is exactly 3:30 and I started the stream. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Ugh. I have an old man pain. Don't know what's happening, but I have some stinging pain in my side. Yo. Not a spring chicken anymore. Anyway, that aside, see if YouTube and all of them are doing the thing it needs to do. It seems it is. Seems it is. Okay, great. Let's get going. So, I was a very productive person yesterday. So it turns out, if we go to the to-do list, I decided to come back and actually knock out a few more of these yesterday afternoon. Because I thought they'd be quite straightforward to do, so I came to do them. Right? So I finished Armor and Wisdom. I can't remember if I did Lifesteal on stream. I might have. Yes, I think I did. But we did Armor and Wisdom yesterday. They seemed very straightforward. If you think about it. But I had to tweak them a little bit because, first of all, Wisdom, I made a big mistake. So there was unintended consequences. And then with the Armor, I wanted to do something similar to the way Brotato implements Armor. So initially I implemented it as, it just subtracts the armor amount from the damage you received. But that doesn't feel too good. So what I did instead was the following. If we look at our code, actually I can show you. So this is the Wisdom. This is the Armor. So this is the calculation. So first of all, your total armor is calculated based on whatever character armor you have, plus an increase from items or a potential decrease from items. Right, so there is a possibility for negative armor to be a thing, right? Which is kind of interesting, but regardless, this is how we do the calculation. So our damage that we receive is multiplied by this over here, which is basically a calculation for percentage damage reduction. So, just basically what's happening here is for every 15 armor you get, you take 50% less damage, right? So that's effectively what this thing does. And obviously the scaling nature of this is it's going to mean that you do not actually get the same amount of benefit for each 15 armor that you have. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. But this is something similar to, this is what a lot of games do. Like I said, Brotato implemented it in the same way. League of Legends, if I'm correct, does a very similar calculation. I think they just choose 100 instead of 15. And there are probably 20 million other games that do something like this. But this is the way it's going to work for me. So you can think about it. This quantity, so is your total armor divided by 15. If your total armor, let's say, is 45, that means we do 1 divided by 1 plus 3, so it's 4. So 1 over 4, that's 25%. or 0.25. So your total damage received is then multiplied by 0.25. Right? Makes sense. So it's a damage reduction of 75%, if you want to think about it like that. But regardless, that's how that works. Then on this side, the negative armor. So basically we take 15 minus 2 times our total armor over 15 minus total armor. Now this won't work if you have a positive armor value, right? Because if you think about it, then it would again reduce the armor after damage taken, but that's not what we want. So, but as soon as you have a negative armor value, so let's just say your armor is -1, right? Then it's 15 minus 2 times -1, so it's 15 plus 2, which is 17 over 15 minus 1, or 16. So it's 17 over 16, so that means your damage gets multiplied by a factor of 17 over 16. Right? Which is an effective increase, I think, of like 6% damage. Right? So -1 armor gives you around 6% more damage taken, and +1 armor is also around 6% less damage taken. Okay. So, but that's what I did yesterday with the armor. Wisdom is very straightforward. Just take the amount of experience you gained, multiply it by 1 times, or 1 plus the character stat wisdom, and the character wisdom increase from combat items. This would be for the character that's currently fighting on the level, and then this one is a similar thing, but it's specifically for bench characters. Okay, so that's about it that I did yesterday. So today we can do dodge chance, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage. Okay, before we go there though, let's get our time tracker going so that we have an idea of how many hours we spent. So you can see here 1,800 minutes spent on the character refactor and stat overall. So that's 30 hours now. So let's get some more time in. Okay, and we can get rid of this and start working on the game. Now I can show you actually, if you want, the armor in action. So the knight, for instance, I started him with 14 armor. And then the items, which are not real items yet, right? It's just me having placeholders for items, would give him a total of 1 extra armor. So he will take 50% less damage. Right? And let's, just for the funsies, give the ranger -5 armor. Just so you can see what happens. And then the owl has a wisdom modifier of 50. Right, so 50% increased experience from kills. Okay, but let's play the game, and we can see how all of this pans out. Okay, go to level prep. I guess we can start with the chicken, right? Start with chicken. You can see him taking. So this guy would normally do 1 damage, right? So he does 0.5 damage now. That guy would do 5 damage with the bomb. He does 2.5. So the knight clearly takes half damage right now, because he has a high armor stat. Okay? And you can see that the health regen, all that stuff also works. He gains health every once in a while. Let's just get rid of the totem so we can get on with it and see what the... Well, actually, let's kill some more enemies. I want to show you what happens to the XP gained by the guys on the bench, right? So they are also gaining experience, like they should. Just want to make sure I kill enough things so that they have a chance. Okay, so normally, what you would expect is for them to roughly gain the same amount of experience, right? Okay, now that's not going to be the case anymore, because the wizard has high wisdom. Are you serious? How many more frogs are there? I really need to fix the whole... Okay, so normally everybody would get the same amount of experience. Like the ranger and the wizard, when they're on the bench, should get roughly the same experience. But the wizard has a modifier of 50%, which meant he gained an additional level while on the bench. Right. Okay, but now we can assign stats. So lifesteal for the chicken, why not? Damage, I like damage. Let's see, armor or more lifesteal. Let's do more lifesteal. More lifesteal. You know, what is with all the lifesteal? This guy's gonna be like a vampire. She's gonna suck all the life out of people. And none of these do anything, right? These are the stats that haven't been implemented yet. So, you know, critical damage, right? No, that's fine. Okay, the ranger, okay, move speed's the only one that is implemented, and damage there. Owl, we can give him health regen, that's fine. Max health and lifesteal, why not? Okay. So let's take the Robin for a spin. So remember, she has negative armor at the moment. So we are expecting her to take more than 1 damage from these guys. 1.2 damage. So she takes about, with her -5 armor, an additional 20% damage. Okay, which means you need to be very careful playing a glass cannon here. Now, this is not going to be as big a problem for her, because obviously she's nice and fast, but obviously if you misplay and you get bombed, you're going to have a bad time. Unfortunately. A lot of penetration damage. Yeah, let's go get the other totems and we can end up this. Yeah, my main problem is accidentally walking into bombs. Yeah, so even with the new stats working, I tried playing the game yesterday to see if I could actually make it to the boss. I still can't, so the game is still completely unbalanced. Even if you gain like 20 levels on all your characters, you just get overwhelmed by wave 8 or 9. Which is obviously an issue that we need to solve. But there's a couple of issues I want to solve. So the first, so for gameplay wise, now this is not going to be character stat related, but gameplay wise, I feel like the map's still too big, because you can run around and not find anything interesting, or you could just, you know, run around and the enemies can't actually hit you because you are too fast. But anyway, so I want to make the map potentially smaller so that you have to engage with them, and I potentially want to change the behavior of the totems a little bit, but I'm gonna have to think about that. Or the placement of the totems. We'll see. Okay, but Owl Wizard. Let's see, you get lifesteal. The Robin, we can give her... I mean, health regen's okay. Movement speed's okay. Armor? Nah, we're gonna stick with the negative armor. Let's give her attack speed. I want her to eventually be able to attack a bit faster, right? And lifesteal's pretty nice. Okay, so let's use the wizard just for funsies. Because you kind of already saw the wizard wisdom in action, right? The high wisdom, man. Okay. You know, where is this thing? Boom. Okay, there's a bug. Hey, this guy. How's it going? I'm just showing off all the new stats that I implemented yesterday. So it turns out I wasn't being a lazy bum. And I decided to actually add wisdom and armor already. There we go. So the owl with their massive wisdom modifier gained a lot of levels for that. Damn. Okay. But anyway, let's just do that. No, let's end the game. So today we want to do dodge chance and we want to do critical damage, right? So while working on the armor, I pretty much already have a idea how I want to implement dodge. Because it's the same idea, right? It's a damage modifier, if you want to think about it that way. So let's see. Okay, so armor. Okay, armor obviously works like this, where we get apply armor modifier to damage taken. Now, I do this in player take damage. So when I apply the hit, right, the hit gets applied from somewhere, from an enemy. So you get damage, and we take that damage and we decrease it by an armor amount. And then we have the damage number prefab pop up for the amount of damage. But what if, before we even do that, right, before we say, you know, what did the armor do, we ask, are we even going to hit? So we do a little bit of a calculation or something here to determine whether or not it's even gonna land. If it is gonna land, then we do the armor calculation, right? And what I can even do is I can have a damage number, not a damage number, but one of these pop-ups spawn that basically says something like missed or whatever the case might be. I'm still a bit torn with the whole damage number spawning thing. I mean, it looks kind of nice. The only issue is it might spam, you know, your screen a little bit if you have like a million of these things popping up all the time. So I might remove it in the future, but for now, we can leave it in there. Okay, so let's go make a dodge chance script, and then we can get into critical damage. Just dodge is very straightforward because we already know kind of where to apply it. Damage going to be interesting. Okay, so we go here and we go to our scripts. Stats. Okay, this would be dodger chance. Okay, so these are all, well, most of them I've made instances. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of things. So let's say we needed the... This is going to be very similar to armor, I would say. Because you're going to need not the character armor necessarily, but the character dodge chance. So we could actually just copy this piece of code to connect the player instance, and then this would be a private float character dodge chance. Right, and we stick it in there, and we get not the armor, but dodge chance. Right, so there we go. So when you select a character, this script gets notified, and it sets the character dodge chance as it should, right? And then we can just, for now, have our two privates, or our two these guys, right? Item placeholder things. Okay, so it's not going to be armor, but it's going to be dodge chance, increase, and dodge chance decrease, right, from items. Because I want dodge chance to be... It's not going to be the same as armor in that there's not going to be a negative value necessarily. As in, there won't be a situation where your dodge chance goes negative and that makes you take more damage or get hit more frequently or something like that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Unless there's a miss chance on the enemy attacks. In that case, you could have it modify the miss chance of the enemy attacks. But I don't feel like that's something I want to do necessarily. So the only reason we have a negative dodge is just so that we can, potentially have an item that's like heavy armor, let's say, which gives you a lot of armor, but it reduces your dodge by 5. Which would mean that, even though you don't take as much damage, if you had any dodge ability before, you just lost quite a bit of it, right? So I want the items to be able to do this. Okay. Okay, so now we just need a public void apply dodge, or actually this is going to be a boolean, and it's just going to basically calculate whether or not we dodged. Did the character dodge? Right, something like that. And we can just have bool return false by default, right? So we can do a little calculation to determine whether or not we dodged, right? Okay, so dodge chance is it's a percentage, right? I can't actually remember. Let's look at my stat SOs. Let's look at dodge chance. So it's a percentage. It's quite low. 8 is quite high. If they're just outright missing 8% of their attacks. Okay, but that is how I want this to feel like, right? I want it to feel like you are literally missing. They are missing 8% of their attacks, right? So there's a 2% chance, a 5 or 8% chance, and then obviously it goes up. Okay, cool. So it's a percentage. So what we can do, I guess we can do something like this. If random so we generate a random number between 0 and 100. And we say if this is less than our character dodge chance, let's do total dodge chance is equal to, so this is a float, right? Float. Total dodge chance is equal to character dodge chance plus dodge increase plus dodge decrease, right? So if this is less than total dodge chance, so let's say your total dodge chance is 10. If this thing is just randomly generating a number from 0 to 100, there would be a 10% probability that it generates a number below 10. And if it does, we return true. If it doesn't, well, we return false. That's pretty straightforward, right? That's how dodge would work. If you have 50% dodge chance, then this thing would have a 50% chance of generating a number greater than or less than your dodge chance, which means you dodge. Okay, so in play take damage, we do an if. If dodge chance dot instance dot did the character dodge. So if this returns true, that means he did. Right? Else you can do all these things. Okay. Okay, so we basically go and we check. We ask if the character dodged. Returns true or false. If it returns true, he dodged. So we do this code. If he returns false, we calculate the damage. We apply the damage. Okay, so right here, what we can also do is we could do a new type of pop-up. So we can have a serialized field here, type damage number, and we can call this missed text prefab. Right, something like that. Let's see what's going on here on my phone. Okay, not much. Okay, so we'll go create a prefab like that. I mean, we'll work on it. But anyway, then we can basically do damage number mist text equals mist text prefab dot spawn. Okay, wait, what do we have to do? Just the position. I think that's all we realistically need. Because normally we put in the armor, right? The damage. But in this case, we don't have to put in the damage because we're going to just have a preset text. Maybe we call this dodge. Because if it's just miss, I think people will get the wrong idea. Maybe they believe that we missed, but we actually dodged. Well, they'll think the enemies can just miss, but they can't really. It's you dodging. Yeah, I think that makes more sense to me. Okay, so now we just need to go create that prefab, and then we can go from there. So inside our prefabs, we have a pop-ups. We can create new. Could I just make a duplicate of this? Let's duplicate that one and let's rename it to dodge text. Okay, so we just want to go change the text. So it's not actually going to be a number in this case. So the number will just be we have a text dodge and then number settings. Can we switch off the number? No number. I think that'll work. Basically. Give it a custom color. No, wait. Text settings. Give the text a custom color. Make it yellow. Yeah, why not? There's a way that you can get rid of the actual number, but not sure. Is it in main? Okay. Crosshair camera. Yeah, I think it's just this one. Okay, we'll just go with that and let's see if it does what I want it to do. There is a way you can get rid of this. So I think this warning. Oh, is this what I was doing? Okay, so I override the number with a message instead. What is... Okay, anyway, let's just see if it does something. Oh, we just... Okay, let's just finish it up. We need to put the dodge chance in here. Okay, so it exists on a thing like that. And then player take damage. That should be on player. So our dodge text prefab. Stick that in there. Okay. Then to test, we just have to take a character. So let's take the ranger and give her a dodge chance of like 80% so that we have a high likelihood of seeing this. Okay, let's see her dodge. Okay, so she definitely dodges. That's pretty cool. I mean, she dodges super often. There, she took some damage. Okay, so that's good, but I don't like the way that damage number still shows up. So what's the deal here? What's the dealio? So obviously we can change the text. Oh, do I just click on it so it doesn't have a number anymore? No way. Let me try that again. Maybe that is literally just you select it or you don't select it. Ah. It literally is that. This error still. Okay, this is just an issue with the enemies getting stuck somewhere. Okay. We won't worry about that right now. Wait, why did I play again? No, stop. I don't want to play. Okay, so we got dodge chance implemented. Okay, let's just make this reasonable, like 0. Make the armor 0. Lifesteal like 2. Maybe she has some lifesteal. We'll think about these when we balance, obviously. But for now, we just have some amount of value. Okay, then we finally have to start thinking about critical damage. Now, critical damage and critical hit chance. I kind of like what I'm doing here with all the different stats. So there's a script associated with each stat. Some of them are singletons, some of them are not. Maybe we make all of them singletons one day, but it kind of gives me a good or an easy way to add the item effect. I think. I don't know if this way of doing things are going to make it easier to implement or harder to implement some of these things later. Because, okay, so let's think about critical damage, critical chance. And then we can actually ask the question, what about all the other stats which I didn't do like this? Like maximum health or attack speed or something like that. Technically, those could also be affected by an item, right? And I don't actually have a way to plug in an item, right? For health regen, for instance, well, at least I have this placeholder for items. Now, I'm not actually sure if this is going to help me at all. But I could see myself, at least everything when we do life regen is centralized. So all the characters' health regen happens from here. So they can tell the script, I am this character. I have these 3 items equipped, theoretically. So it tells the health regen script, I'm this is what I have. How much health can I get the next 5 seconds, right? And that kind of makes sense. And that's how I think about all the others as well. Like wisdom. It's like, hey, I gained some experience. I am this guy. This is my items. How much experience do I actually get? And I feel like attack speed and all these things should work similarly in some way. So maybe I should create scripts like this for attack speed, for damage, for all the basic stats that I kind of neglected up to now. So then this is like, we have character data, which is just the character's data. Then we have item data. And these scripts are kind of like where they come together, character and item data. And they give you basically your real stat, your realized stat that you're going to be using or having when you are fighting. So the character's data is that is modified with things like with level ups. Ooh. And we keep track of that inside character data. But the items you can equip and unequip. Right, so that will cause an increase or decrease in stats regardless of what your character data is. And I don't want to necessarily change the character data. I want to keep that separate. So I'm kind of feeling the way I'm structuring this. It feels like I made a good decision here. Okay, so that means we should actually then have all the potential stats in here so that we have a centralized place to apply or to modify our stats based on our items. Okay. But for now, let's create a new script, call it crit chance. And you know what, while I'm here, I might as well just create the other script as well and call it crit damage. Crit damage. Why is this thing opening? Okay, and then, you know what? We should actually add... just damage. Okay, this is kind of annoying, but anyway. Why does it have to compile every time? Okay, but anyway. Attack speed. Move speed. So damage, attack speed, move speed. Max health is the other one, right? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are the 11 that I think I'm going to implement now. The other 2 that are left, so if we just go look at it over here. The other 2 that we still need to do are luck and harvesting, right? But still, since we haven't actually implemented any loot, it doesn't really make a sense. Luck or greed. I think I'm going to call it greed. Right, because it's just a shorter, easier word to understand. Yeah, I'm going to call it luck and greed. Yeah, that'll have some implications. But anyway. Create a new one, call it luck. So we can create these, but I'm not really going to implement them. And greed, because it's just a shorter, easier word to use. Okay, then we can go to our stats SOs and we can change those. Gonna try something here. Okay, so we go to our scriptable objects. And we have our stats SO scriptable object. So let's go in there. And we can change scavenging to greed. Okay, and let's go see our actual stat SO. This is super annoying. I don't understand why this is a thing, but anyway. So scavenging over here. Okay, so the stat name became greed there. We just need to make it greed over here. Okay, and then in our SO list, I think it would change to greed as well. So can we drag it up to go under dodge chance? We can, just so everything's alphabetical again. Okay, great. So all our stats have now updated. Okay, so we have a greed stat now instead of a scavenging stat. Okay, so let's look at our game stat manager. So we want to add all of these components, right? And it would be kind of nice if they were alphabetical as well, just so it's, you know, easier to see. Okay. Why is it fighting me so much? Okay, so wisdom would go to the bottom here. Okay, so armor. Then we can add. Oh my greatness. Okay, lock you. You can add attack speed underneath armor. Then we can do critical chance. Can I click on them like this? Crit chance, crit damage, add damage. Right there. Then it's dodge. So dodge moves up. Okay, then it's greed. Greed under damage. Then health regen under greed. Okay. Life steal under health regen, that's fine. Then luck, max health, movement speed, and wisdom. Okay, so these three, we can just drag them in there. All of them. Okay, so now all the scripts are connected at least. Now obviously we need to go fix them, but at least they are there. And if we ever have to plug something in, we can. Okay, so we want to do critical chance, critical damage, right? So what's nice about these two is they actually only need to know, they're very similar to most of our combat stats. We're going to do a very similar thing. Right, so our combat stats like dodge chance need some very basic things every single time. We need to basically know which character is actually selected because, you know, critical chance doesn't mean anything if you are not the character that's currently selected. Okay, so we can basically all of this stuff needs to be replicated. Just not dodge, but crit chance and critical damage. So we could do something like this. Now obviously it's going to break because this needs to be dodge chance, which is an instance, and this needs to be crit damage as the instance, right? And then this is going to be character crit chance. Okay, I should not do it like that. Come on. Character. Crit chance. Okay, and then this one is going to be crit chance increase. Crit chance decrease from items, you know, because why not? Maybe there is some reason for that. Okay, like this player manager. Okay, so we get the character crit chance, so this should be crit chance from the character that is currently selected. Okay, and then this one would be the critical damage. So character crit damage, right? And then this would be crit damage increase, and this would be crit damage crit damage decrease from item. Okay, and we just need to do crit damage here. Okay, so this is the basic thing that all of them need to know. Since they are combat stats, we just need to find what they are for the character that is selected whenever the character gets selected, and we set that. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. So now we just need to have a crit chance. So this one, I think, we'll do a public bool again. Bool, and it's just basically gonna ask, did the, let me just see, so I said that the character dodge, so this is gonna be that the character crit. Right, and return false. No, what the hell? False by default. This is going to be very similar to what I did with dodge chance, where we have a total crit chance and then some random range, and if it's below, yeah, actually it's going to be exactly the same. Right, so float, total crit chance. This would equal to the character crit chance plus crit increase from items plus crit decrease from items. Then we do if random dot range between 0 and 100, so we just check, is less than our total crit chance. Then we return true. Right? So we're going to generate a number. So let's say our crit chance is 20%. That means when generating this random number, there's a 20% chance effectively that we generate a number below 20. Right? Which would then return true for crit. Okay. So that was pretty straightforward. Then in terms of critical damage, now critical damage, this is a multiplier of some sort. So we don't just ask that the character crits, we need to do a public. What are we returning? A float. And the way I do these is apply critical damage. Okay, so we get a float damage. Do I say apply or apply lifesteal, apply wisdom modifier to experience gain, apply armor modifier to damage taken? Alright, whatever. Okay, so what do we want to do here? So critical damage would be a percentage gain. Right, so I think we first need to calculate our total critical damage based on the items we have and our character's critical damage. So float total crit damage. Okay, and this would basically be equal to character crit damage plus character just increase plus the decrease from items. Okay, and then we return, quite simply, the damage that we want to do, and we multiply that by 1 plus our total crit damage over 100. Right, so if you think about it, so that's quite simply how you apply critical damage. So if you have a, say, 10% crit damage in total, that's going to be 1 plus 10 over 100, which is 1.1. So multiplying your damage by 1.1 is effectively increasing it by 10%. So this is very straightforward for critical damage and critical chance. The only question is, when do we apply this? So, I believe... Okay, so when we did lifesteal, right, we had a similar question. When do we apply the lifesteal? So we ended up applying it at enemy take damage, right? Which works, right? We go lifesteal.instance, apply lifesteal. And effectively we should do something like that. So apply hit happens, so the enemy is taking damage, right? And this is happening whenever the character or the fireball, or the melee attack, or the arrow, or whatever hits a character. So we first check if we can take damage, and if we can, fantastic. And then I think we should do something like if crit chance dot instance dot did the character crit. So if he did crit, we do something. Else, you know, we do something else. And then we apply the lifesteal. So lifesteal should be applied to the... So lifesteal is a funny one. I'm thinking, should it be a percentage of the damage dealt or the percentage of the damage taken? Because currently it's calculating as a percentage of damage dealt. Now, the reason this could be an issue is because let's say you are the wizard and you deal 30 damage, right? You are overkilling the enemies by a lot, especially in the beginning, right? A lizard has like 8 health. You do 30 damage. Let's say you have 10% lifesteal. That means you heal for 3 health with each lizard that you hit with your fireball. Right, but the way I think about life steal is like you're taking some percentage of the life you just took, you just killed, right? So even though we do 30 damage, we should only be able to heal by the amount that the enemy is actually damaged, if that makes sense. Because he doesn't take 30 damage realistically, he takes 8, right? So then we should say 10% of the 8 damage that he actually took. Because that's how much health he had. Yeah, so there's an idea there that we need to figure out for lifesteal specifically, if we wanna do it that way. Okay, but anyway, for the critical. So first we check if we did do a critical. So if it returns true, we did, and then we can apply the critical damage. So in that case, we can say something like we can make a new float, I guess, call it crit damage is equal to crit damage dot instance dot apply crit damage to our normal damage, right? Okay, and then what we can do is basically something like this, but we should maybe, and this would be kind of nice, is if we have a damage number that's a crit damage. So just so it looks a little bit different, right? Okay, so then instead of that, we do a we do damage number crit crit damage number prefab dot spawn just something like that. So did we crit? Yes, we did. So we get our crit damage. And we spawn a crit damage number. So this is going to be a little different. So I'm going to make it potentially red or whatever, so it indicates that this is a crit. And then we spawn that, and then obviously we need to still do the on got hit. So how do I want to do this? And we still need to do these things. So let's think about this. So all of this happens regardless, and maybe that happens not inside of this else statement. Right, maybe we have it happen there. So this is potentially the problem. What do we set here? What do we invoke? We want to invoke crit damage sometimes. Sometimes we want to invoke just damage. So do I create a new variable that gets the crit damage instead? Or do I invoke this potentially twice? Could we do... Okay, wait. I could do this, right? I could just overwrite the damage amount over here. And now it's just damage always, but we have a crit modifier over here. And if we did this, then obviously this would be a bigger number. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. So we set our damage equal to our crit damage multiplier. We just put in damage there, so it'll be a bigger number, but it's a crit damage prefab. And then we do this one, and then all of this stuff should still work the same way for applying a hit. One of the problems this does is it doesn't actually work with the crocodile, I think. Right, so the crocodile enemy, how does he even take damage then? So he doesn't have an enemy take damage script. Which means you can't heal off of hitting the crocodile enemy. Let's just unlock this. He probably has... No, he does have an enemy take damage script. Okay. Yeah, it's the same script. So he can still get crits or get critical hits and stuff like that. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay, so now we just need to go create a damage number prefab. And I'm gonna have to apply this to all the enemies because I'm bad. Enemy take damage, if you think about it, should be... So let me just go check my enemies quickly, my enemy prefabs. There should be a better way of doing this. Yeah, so I have a base enemy, right? And I think all of these guys go from base enemy. So technically, I should add the enemy take damage there. Right, and then it will pull through to all my other prefabs. And then this one, if I go to my pop-ups, just be the normal damage number. And then this one will be a crit damage number. So we can take this one, we can duplicate it. And we can rename this one to crit damage number. Okay, and then we can change. Okay, so the number can do its thing, but we give it a custom color, I guess. We can make it like, I don't know, like a reddish color. Right, we can even give it some text. Let's say write text. We make it a exclamation mark. And then we can copy this color and paste it there. And give it a custom color as well. Right, so it'll give me my damage with an exclamation mark because it's a crit. We can also maybe do something with the size. Scale by number is kind of interesting for this one. So it can be twice as big depending on how much damage we do. If it's a crit. Let's make it 1 to 100 maybe. Not 1,000. We'll see how this looks. Maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. Okay, cool. So then we can just go to our base enemy and drag in our prefab for our pop-ups. Crit damage number prefab, go in there. Okay, now we can just look at all the enemies because they might be broken. I think what effectively is happening now is they probably have 2 damage numbers here. So they have the first one, which is now the one they inherit from base enemy. And then they have the second one, which is broken. Right, and potentially the manager needs a reference. So let's remove the broken one and see what else breaks. Okay, so let's see. The manager doesn't actually care. State machine doesn't care. This thing's not set up. Projectile doesn't care. Nothing really cares about the enemy. Does the movement care? Not really. Interesting. So I mean, it does invoke this. Who's listening to this at the moment? Enemy state machine, crocodile boss, enemy manager. So it is listening to the event, take damage, but where does it get? Enemy take damage. Oh, it's not a... Huh? Oh, we just get a component. Ah, fantastic. Okay, that's perfect then. Okay, that's great. Let's go look at the other prefabs just to make sure they are not broken now as well. So we have the ranged bomber enemy. So they have that enemy take damage, and then they should have another one over here, which we are going to remove. So let's see if it broke something. Most of these... Oh, okay, yeah. So it didn't just do a get component. It needed it to be dragged in. Okay, let's look at the simple melee enemy. So this enemy take damage we can remove, and then it loses the reference, so we just drag in the new one. There we go. There we go. Okay, so they all should work the way I want them to, and we should be able to get critical hits and all that good stuff. Right? Yo. At least I managed to switch off the mic. That was quite a sneeze. Okay, cool. So I think critical hits work. So critical hit, let's just give the ranger critical hit chance of 100% and critical hit damage of 200%. Right? I think it is percentages. I think I implemented that correctly. So if we look at critical hit damage, yeah, this is a percentage. Okay, so this is going to be insane. She's going to do a massive amount of critical damage. Yeah, critical chance 100%, critical damage 200. Okay, Robin, start. Ooh, the red is terrible. I can't even see it. Okay, let's go change that. So our pop-ups pop up for critical damage. Okay, so the red I chose kind of terrible. Unless we do something else. What's mark? Offset extra. How do I do an outline? I don't actually know what mark does. Let's switch it on. And let's just go check. Let's see what it looks like. I think I can actually open this now that I think about it. Oh well, we'll just play the game and see what that does. Ah. It gives it a little block. Okay, no, that's bad. Let's open this prefab and see what it looks like. Okay, so there we go. Now I can see it. But it's, you know, it doesn't look that bad against this specific background, right? Oh, now we can actually change the presets. Okay, let's do that. So first of all, I just want to take off the mark for both of these because that doesn't look nice. And now we can actually just make it a glow or make it a basic with outline. Blood, shadow, thin. Oh, this is blood. Interesting. Make it do a flip. A flip and fall. Okay. Let's just do a basic outline. I guess maybe that looks okay. We can change the material, which I don't want to do. We can change the text mesh pro, which I kind of don't want to mess with. Right? That's fine. Okay, so now it's still going to be the red, but with the outline, maybe this looks okay. And it's going to do a flip. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, well, the red at least looks much better now with the outline. Okay, so there's at least an indication that we are doing critical hits. Okay, can we do critical hit to a stump? Probably not, right? Yeah. Okay, so we are not critical hitting a stump, which I'm completely okay with. So we normally do 10 damage, right? And we go up to 30.1. It's an interesting amount of damage. Why is it 30.1? Some rounding stuff happening, probably. Okay, but anyway. Oh, there's actually, yeah, dodge chance. All of the stuff is working now. So dodge chance, attack speed, movement speed, wisdom. Yeah, all of this is working. There's actually a reason to click these buttons. Okay, there's no reason to click greed though. Do 11 damage now? Oh, okay, and we do 33.1 when we have a crit. I wonder if we should, you know what, let's do that. So, our crit damage number, I think the number text, I changed it so that it can have decimals, but let's take that off. I don't like the decimal idea with our damage, right? It's fine if we do decimals, or there are decimals for the enemies, right? Because we have armor, which reduces it by a decimal amount. But I think the decimal on the character damage looks meh. Not a fan. Okay. So I think what we should do now, realistically, if we want everything to work together the way I envision it, is we should actually go through all the other things that are not implemented yet and fix them as well. And what I'm gonna do as well for now is in my stats SO list, I think I'm gonna remove greed, right? And I'm gonna remove luck. Just for now, I can always put them back here, and this is now the nice thing. Adding and removing stats from this list now remove them everywhere from the game because I was a good coder, right? I thought about this being a problem in the future, and now it's not a problem. So it would be completely impossible. So even if I start the game with like 20 skill points on the Ranger, I think you should never see. So there shouldn't be any errors. It should be fine with this. Hopefully, because all the code would work the same way. What? What is this about? Text Mesh Pro. What? Hey, there we go. Now I do 30 damage. Okay, let's just go. I wanted to see the skill points, actually. Ah, damn it. I forgot what I wanted to do because of that error. Zoop. Where did I shoot that one? I feel like the Ranger should have more attack speed. Okay, so we have 20, so we can click this. And we should never see greed or luck at all. Yeah. So there's no more greed or luck possible. That's great. Right, because I'm just... And you should also not see them here, actually. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Are they still in our character data? I wonder. They might be. So let's just go look at our character data. So obviously we have luck and we have greed here somewhere. No. So we get the stat list SO. So that means not even here. So it would actually not even create that stat. Okay, cool. So it's not in our upgrade character data dictionary at all. It's here still, but that's okay. It can stay there. It doesn't. This is just for setting the initial values. So it doesn't actually affect the game if I don't set it. Okay, and that's pretty great. So we got rid of greed and luck, and like I said, it's just because I don't have any items or loot drop things happening, so there's no real reason for them to exist at the moment. Right, I'll keep them in here because they don't really do anything here, but I wanted to remove them from menus. So we should now do armor, attack, speed. We should do all the other stats that we haven't implemented. So everything works, but like attack speed is not implemented from here, which could be a problem, right? So if you think about it, attack speed, obviously, it affects every single attack trigger. So the character attack trigger goes to, let's see, where does it go to? It goes here, character data dot attack speed, right? So it gets the attack speed from the character data, which is incorrect. We don't want it to get attack speed from character data. We want it to get it from our character stat that we're going to write now. The reason is, well, our character stat can be changed based on items. So character data it's alone is not enough to determine what our actual attack speed must be. Good. Okay, so let's go and implement attack speed. It's not open there, so let's just open it up. So attack speed. Okay, so effectively attack speed is also a combat stat. Right, so there's no real point. Well, actually, when I say that, let's look at this attack trigger. When does it actually get the attack speed? Alright, it gets a reference to the character data, and it asks what the attack speed is every time on update. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, to trigger the... So maybe we don't want it to query the attack speed every single time. So we might do something like... It needs to listen to the event, like we select a character and then it sets the attack speed for that character. I think that would be better. Yeah. Yeah, so something like this, where we have, I think we already have this, player manager dot instance dot select get selected on, no, on, it's on, selected character changed. So when the character changes, we don't call this, that's a player manager on selected character change. then we set our attack speed. So in our attack trigger, we can change our attack speed. So we can have a private. This is a float. Attack speed. Okay. Private float attack speed. And so we set our attack speed right here. So currently what we can do is we can just say attack speed equals character data dot attack speed. Right? We can do it like that. And then we can just do attack speed over here. For instance, we could do that. That's reasonable. But we obviously want to modify our attack speed further based on whatever else we have in terms of the items and such. Hey, Ralphs. It's going well. It's going well. I think we're getting there. Gameplay is happening. I'm just now refactoring a little bit again the way attack speed and all the other things are implemented. Need to be changed to allow for the introduction of items into the game eventually. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. How about you? How's it going over there? So I'm kind of thinking about this now, right? So we get our character attack speed when we change the character, but that might not be a good idea to do it only when we change the character, because you can change the character multiple times. Yeah. So maybe it's not supposed to happen over here. Yeah, maybe this thing should just be querying our attack speed script, like most of the other ones are, right? Like critical chance and all these good things, or critical damage, for instance. Ah, that's cool. That is cool. I also learned about an interesting thing. It's called the UI toolkit, which is not new or anything, but I didn't know it existed, right? And it turns out it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. Apparently, you can make UI without struggling so much. From what I saw, it seemed like, from the tutorial I watched, it wasn't such a struggle, but might still be. Okay, so let's just copy this because I'm lazy, and we change the instance name, and then we do character. Okay, we can't do that. Character attack speed instead. Okay, and then this would be attack speed increase from items, attack speed decrease from items. Okay, and we just need to get the attack speed over here. Okay, so I'm just thinking about this. So the whole item thing in the way I want. You're asking about the UI toolkit. Like, I watched a 5-minute video and I was kind of amazed at what it was able to do. So it definitely felt like it made your life easier based on that video that I watched. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. it seems to completely decouple the UI and the actual game scene from one another. And it had some very cool tools for layout and stuff like that. It's also seemed a little bit more designer friendly, if that makes sense. So it's not like the UI currently is, where you have to make a bunch of game objects and stuff that contain, your buttons and stuff like that. I just watched a quick video on it. I'm no expert, but it seemed pretty cool. Okay, total. Let's call this total attack speed. Yeah, it seemed kind of nice. It seemed like one of those things where it would have changed my life if I knew about it. Do I know anything about URP shaders? Not at all. I've created one shader using Shader Graph. This one over here. It's pretty much just copy paste from a tutorial from Infenzia. My wife got super into his videos when she learned how to do the character modeling. So she used a lot of his free color palettes and stuff. So we needed to create a shader in Shader Graph to make use of it. But that's literally all we did with shaders so far. It's everything. This is the whole thing we did. And it's really not so... Yeah, it's really not that much. But it's good enough to have color in the game, right? So that's fine. We have a colored game. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm now thinking about a new problem. So what would happen if you select a character, right? So you select a character. Fantastic. It comes here and it applies the character attack speed. Okay, that's good. Right? And then you add an item to the character. So then it applies one of these two. And then whenever you want to get your attack speed, you get it from here. For the selected character with an applied item. Actually, that's not so bad. That doesn't sound terrible. I don't know. I feel like there's a way this is going to break. Or there's some problem I need to still solve with this method of doing it, and I'm not quite sure what the problem is yet, but I can feel it's coming. There's a problem on the horizon that's going to require me to change a lot of this code. There's probably an argument to be made for doing all of this in one script as well. I'm not interested in that argument. It's now a separate script, so let's just leave it like that. Okay, so let's say this is not applying the attack speed. This is get attack speed. I would say, and you don't need to provide anything. You just get the attack speed. So you just you're basically just returning. Yeah, we're just returning the total attack speed, right? Total attack speed. I don't even have to call it anything. We just return this. So the character attack speed plus the increase from items plus something else. Now, if you look at the attack trigger, for instance, this thing is going to be connected and it knows about the character it's connected to. Okay, so I don't need to do this. This is pointless. Because what I effectively want to do is do an attack speed. Actually, we can get rid of this as well. We want to go ask the attack. We want to go ask what the attack speed is. Do we really have to do that every frame is my problem. So do that little calculation every single time. Or is there a way of doing that calculation once and then just leaving it like that? Or do we query the instance every single time we do this? Because the character attack speed is not changing during the round, right? Okay, but we can do this and it will work. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right. But I don't know how to make it feel better. So we'll leave it like this for now. Okay, now the other place we need the attack speed is in the animators, right? Because the animator gets, well, it basically uses the attack speed. So it calls this function, which is update attack speed. When does it call that function? Who calls that function? Something else is calling this function. Okay, let's go see where is it called from. Apply character, apply stats, active character. Okay, so maybe this is where we should be doing this. So apply stats for active character. That only gets called once we do this, and this is done on that button press. Okay, I think this is a good idea actually. We do it over here. Yeah. Yeah, so then instead of doing this, when we apply the stats to the active character, we do attack speed dot instance dot get attack speed instead. That seems much better. And then we can do something similar with the attack trigger, where so the attack trigger and our animator can do something very similar, where we have an update attack speed. So we can do character attack trigger. We're going to have a function over here where we do update attack speed. We get our new attack speed. And basically what we have effectively is a private float attack speed, right? And we just pretty much set attack speed equal to our new attack speed. So don't do this. We'll just do new. No. Attack speed. Okay, and when do we update this? Well, when we lock in the character. So in our player manager, when we apply character stats, that's when we lock in the character stats. So that would be here. Okay, so do we do an active? Get components. And the component would be no, actually, this is going to be in children, and it's going to be an attack, character attack trigger, right? And then we do update attack speed. And we basically send this to there as well. Okay, so now the two things that need to know what our attack speed is to set the animation and the attack trigger cooldown know what the attack speed is as soon as you click go. Okay, I might want to change this in the future, but let's see. So there's another. So set movement speed and damage has a similar type of thing happening where, you know, we only need to let the we need to let a few things know what their damage is, but we really only need to do that once we apply our active character. Okay, I'm gonna go get some more coffee, go to the restroom, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So stick around, listen to the music. I'll be right here. I'll be right back. Let's do this. I have returned. Okay. Sit up straight, super straight. That's maybe too much. Wait, let me just be paranoid quick. Did I unmute myself? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, so I might have to come back and, I did. Cool. I might have to come back and revamp some of this stuff, in the future. But for now, like, we might actually want to call character stat, or this apply character stats more frequently than we currently do. Because what I'm thinking is, what if, let's say during the level prep phase, right? You might want to move your characters around or apply items to them and stuff like that. Because that's kind of what that round is for, to put new items on different people or whatever. And then when you do that, when you rearrange the equipment like that, you would like to see the stats change in real time. It'd be kind of bad if you put on armor and yes, the armor values get applied correctly, but you don't see a number go up, right? That's bad, right? We want to see numbers go up. So I might have to do some stat application during the whole level prep thing. But for now, stat application is just happening when the level actually started. Which is okay for now, but this is definitely not the way it's going to be forever. Okay, but let's see. So I think, so the attack speed should now all get routed through this. So everything should now ask, what is our attack speed? And it gets it from the character that's active. Then there's a attack speed increase from items and decrease from items potentially. Now attack speed is a percentage as well. So, but let's make this like a 25% increase and like a negative 5%, right? Yeah. So these are going to give you the percentages, and then your attack trigger takes it and multiplies it by 0.01, making it a percentage. And I think our animator does something similar. Obviously, it divides by 100 instead. Same difference, right? Doing the same thing in the end. Okay, cool. So attack speed sorted. Let's do damage now. This is just the base damage. And this is going to be very similar to attack speed, if I'm honest. But obviously, I'm separating these because maybe there's a reason for separating them. Okay, but effectively, all of this is going to be the same. Right, so instead of attack speed, we just call this damage, and this would be character damage instead. And we'll have a damage increase from items, and we'll have a damage decrease from items. We have wake, we get our player, and this is the damage stat that we want here. And then we can just say get damage. Character damage plus increase plus decrease. So this is very similar to the attack speed one. So, there's probably like I'm repeating myself, right? I'm creating duplicate code again. That is bad. This is similar to what I did with the characters when I was implementing them, where I thought every character needed their own unique character manager, for instance. And eventually that caused me to duplicate a lot of the code and end up not actually making them that unique. So this is essentially the same thing that's happening right now. For some of these stats. Yeah, because these are just getting the damage, right? And getting the attack speed. And it's going to get the movement speed. It doesn't apply it in the same way the crit damage or crit chance does. Yeah, we don't just get crit damage, we apply crit damage. And like armor is, we apply the modifier to the damage. We still need to get the total armor, but then we return the damage to it. That's differently. So we don't do this calculation at the source, which is fine. So this works, and the same with them. So I think my idea is correct. It's just some of these stats are very simple and straightforward, like damage, where it's just basically adding the damages together, which is fine, right? They can be simple like that. Some of them are just more simple. Okay, but anyway, so damage increase and decrease from items, etc. So now we just need to figure out where do we actually get damage, or where does damage go. So basically in the player manager, as far as I'm aware, we have this variable called somewhere here, I know it exists, character damage, right? And then there's a get character damage as well. So effectively, we set it to some value, and then we can get it wherever we want. So I just think that when we set it, we can basically just do very simply just go damage damage.instance.get damage instead. What the hell? What the hell did I just do? Get damage. Okay, so if we just get damage, it'll already know where to get the damage, etc. And then it's set and everything is fine. Yeah, these two were attack speed. They go to the animator and the attack trigger to change the attack speed. Ooh. Sounds like rain. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is just change the movement speed. I think that's the only one. That's the only one of the basic stats we realistically need right now. So let's go look. Okay, so damage, dodge. Okay, so greed, we don't worry about. Life regen, life steal, luck. Oh, max health is another one we need to get, and movement speed. Okay, so let's look at max health. So again, where do we actually use max health? I am not sure. So definitely in the UI. So the UI needs to know about the max health, so it can show there. Where else? Okay, so let's go to the UI and just ask it, where do you even get the reference for the max health? How do you know what the maximum health is? I think it's in the player manager, if I'm honest. But let's go canvas, gameplay UI, health bar. So a health bar Okay, you have some size, etc. But update health bar is called with the current and max health. That's fine, but it's given that. So where is this coming from? So let's see. So the crocodile can do it because he uses the same prefab for his health bar. But it seems like the player manager is effectively where it comes from. We have an update player gameplay UI, and it gets our current health from character data, and then it also gets our max health. Okay, so that seems pretty straightforward. So I think max health is going to be, again, very similar to this. Right? It's not a fancy one. So this would just be max health, and then all of these. Let's see. Can we do control? Find and replace. So what do we want to find? Damage. And replace it with max health. Okay. Replace, 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 replace. Okay, it's gonna be broken a little bit. Okay. Oh, we'll go fix it now. So we ever just wanted to have a capital letter, and this should be a capital as well. This should be capital as well. So character max health. Okay, and then max health, max health. So all of this works, and then this should be max health instead. There we go. Okay, so again, very straightforward, and let's just make this a capital. Very straightforward script. It's very possible that we could make a more basic, generalized script. There's a future me will figure this out, right? Current me, I have no idea what I'm doing. Future me will come look at this problem and be like, you know what? There's a way we can make this very scalable, very efficient by just standardizing all of these. So we're gonna make like a stat script that's gonna just take in You see, I'm already thinking about how to improve this. Ah, damn it. Okay, so instead of doing all this nonsense, we just do max health dot instance dot get max health. Right, just like that. This is also not super effective or efficient, but it's fine. Yeah, because technically the health bar, the maximum health on the health bar shouldn't have to change all the time. I currently do it that way. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna. I didn't see anything. Okay, this is not working anymore, so that's not a problem. Okay, so I think that's the only place where max health is a thing. And yeah, we can leave it like this, so we'll see the slight upgrade. Let's make it an odd number so that we can make sure it happens the way it should. Okay, and then lastly is movement speed. Ah, man, I'm so annoyed by the fact that I know I should be doing this better. Hey, this guy, are you are you back? I guess you had to drive home or something. Yeah, Ralph. I mean, I know I should be doing this better. Oh, I need to write a reusable script that doesn't care, especially for these basic stats. Now, when I call this function, it pretty much just knows like the character data, and then based on what I call the function with, it'll return why? I don't want to do it better. I think I need a fuller, I need a better picture of what's happening here. So I need like an item, and then I can see how all the interactions are going to work. I know this guy. I know this is exactly what I'm saying, is that I can just have a single stat class and it should all figure itself out from there, but I'm back to my old ways. Just making 20 different class. My bad ways. Yeah, no, there should really just be one stat class. It's not really necessary that everything has its own class. There might be a small argument for the special stats that have some calculation that needs to happen, like armor, for instance. But even then, we could very simply just have this method inside of our general stat class. Not really. Wait. Yes, I know. That's okay. Yeah, there's a delay. There's a delay. That's exactly what I just said. Okay, just this method could definitely exist in the general stat class, right? Man. Yes, I need something stronger than this coffee. Yeah, I should do it. I should do it. I know I will. That's exactly what happened with the character manager, the character animator, the attack trigger, all that stuff. When I pulled it into a single script, you know, my whole life changed, to be honest. But yeah, it opens up the possibility for making things way straightforward, I would say. Okay, so let's just think about this. So the only thing that, so these ones like health regen, obviously we could just have these functions run, and we have items. We have a timer. Yeah, so health regen will be kind of special because it needs a timer, at least, to apply the health regen. But there's no reason for the timer to not exist, just generally, in our stats. Okay, so let's do it this way. We'll just create a component and call it the character stat manager. Right, because if you think about it, I have this game object called the character stat manager, and then I have a bunch of scripts for all the different stats, which is making my life it's making my life a bit unnecessarily hard going through all these scripts. So I can have a character stat manager script, this is now going to be the class that does everything, right? Character stat manager, here we go. Implementation time. We're basically going to copy all the stuff from the other ones and put it in this one and then delete those. For crying in a bucket, what the hell. Okay, so character stat manager. So the first thing this thing needs to do is it needs to become an instance. Public static character stat manager instance, and then we do awake instance is this. You should make one stat class and a controller. I have no idea what is a controller. Oh, you mean this is the controller. The manager is the controller, and then we have a stat class which is a separate thing. So okay, so my characters look, I'm not gonna claim that my the particular architecture that I end up using for this game is correct in every single way. Let's be honest, it's not gonna be. So I'm not gonna try and even get there. But my idea with the character stat manager is it can apply changes to stats that are tracked by the character data, even when that particular character is not active. That game object is inactive, because this game object stays active, right? Because I started doing something like that where each character controls their own thing, but what happened was the characters get deactivated when they are not used. And maybe there's a better way of doing that as well, but they are still they are just deactivated. I guess I could teleport them somewhere else, disconnect them from the player, but currently I just deactivate them. And then when you deactivate them, obviously all the scripts inside of the character stop running. So what we could do, I guess, is have a player and a bench, for instance. And then we just reparent these depending on who we select. So we can just take the ranger and move her to the bench. And then we control the player with the knight character attached to it. That's fine. And everything stays active, so we don't lose the active state of these characters. Which means any scripts they have would continuously do their thing. Yeah, because currently the bench is just me literally switching them off. Yeah, but there's no reason why the bench couldn't be a physical place in my world that you just can't see, right? Or maybe you can see it. Maybe that's kind of interesting. Man. I think part of my problem right now is the fact that I need to conceptualize something that I haven't implemented into the game yet, which is the items, right? Because if you think about it, this whole character stat manager thing is kind of pointless if you don't have items, right? There's not a lot of reason for it. Most of it, right? Some of it, yes, but most of it doesn't really make a difference. So we can have, yeah. We have a character data. Oh man, my brain is not in this right now. Okay, but we have character data, and if you think about it, this gives me the opportunity to set the stats of the character to start with, and then it keeps track of the stats as we go. Right, so that works out fine. Now, additional to this, we want to have a character inventory, let's say, and then we want to have a realized character stats, something like that, where the character data and the character inventory values are combined. Right, so let's say your character inventory exists and there's 5 items in there and each of them modify a stat in a different way. Then you take the character data, you add the item values, and then you get out what would effectively be the realized stat that the character has when he does damage or takes damage or whatever the case might be. So that could all happen within character data, technically. Right? Theoretically, it could at least, but I want to have it separated. But also, it shouldn't be something unique for every character. So if we have character data, we can also have character inventory. And inside the inventory, there would be, I guess, items. Oh, man. And then do we have another thing, which is like the character realized stats, which is the character data plus the character inventory. And then those stats are what's used everywhere in the game. So then the character stat manager is not a singleton in the world, it's something on each character. And it controls how the stats are applied eventually. So it'll have functionality like calculating the damage reduction from the armor, where the character stats in the item basically says, the character stat just says, I have 5 armor. The inventory says, all the items in my inventory give me a total of an additional 5 armor. Then you take the 5 armor and the 5 armor, you plug it into the character stat manager. That thing says, oh, you have 10 armor in total. This is how much damage reduction is going to take place. If I have a character manager that has access to the characters, I can still modify them. That would basically be my player manager, I think, is what's currently doing that. The player manager has access to all the characters, because all the characters are within the player. Right? They are children of the player. So the player technically can access anything in here. That's kind of what this thing was. It was like an extension of the player. Because it also stays active, and the player... I just wanted to separate some of the functionality. It could definitely be in the player manager. But yeah, I could see how we make a character manager inside of the player, or a party manager or something like that, that specifically does things to the party. We can even have a bench manager, or whatever the case might be, right? But yeah, the functionality should maybe be in something like a character stat manager, which is a component of the character. The character has a manager, obviously, as well. So let's... Damn it. Why? Okay, so if we go to our base character, right? We have a character data. We technically have a character manager as well. But if we add a character stat manager here, and let's just add a new script, which is the character inventory, in a sense. Okay. So now the way I think about this is the character stats that are actually used when something happens in the world comes from the character stat manager. Doesn't come directly from data. Doesn't come directly from inventory. It comes from the stat manager. The stat manager combines the two and can do other calculations or stuff like that, which might be necessary. We can also access the character stat manager from the player to do things like regen health or gain experience, or whatever the case might be. And now I'm thinking, does the character stat manager even need to exist? I think it does need to exist. I'm going to make it exist. I'm going to have a reason for it to exist. You know how much work I did? This is like the last 5 hours of work is now going to be completely pointless. Maybe more, but maybe like the last 8 hours of work. Because everything I did yesterday is kind of... It won't be completely pointless, but it's going to feel pretty pointless. Okay, so we got the inventory, we got the character data. So let's suppose... Should we build the inventory? Okay, so how would the inventory work? So I'm assuming that, you know, we have scriptable objects, characters, enemies, stats. We'll have a scriptable object for items as well, right? So we should have scriptable object and call this one create new scriptable. It's going to be a script, new scriptable object script. And this would be a item SO. Right? And the item SO is going to do a few things. Okay, so here we have the item SO. I think the first thing the item SO needs is access to the list of upgradable stats. Right? That makes sense. So we do a serialized field and we put in a stat SO, list SO. And this would be the stat SO list SO. Okay, the reason this is because then we can just do do we want to plug that in actually? Shouldn't each item should have this by default? So if I create a new folder here, items, item SO folder, and I create a new scriptable object of item SO, and let's just call this the demon. Did I just put in a scriptable object reference inside of a scriptable object? Yes. Scriptable object inception. Okay, this is going to be the test item SO. And it needs a list. Wait, you're going to tell me that's bad? No, man. Don't tell me that's bad. This is good. Got to make it private as well. Okay. So I'm not quite sure why I did that, to be honest with you. I'm still thinking about it, right? I am making this up as I go. So, but the item should at least know which stats how abstract do I want my code? Yes. I wanted that abstract. Exactly. This is going to be so abstract. You're not going to know what's happening. So the nice thing about this, or the way I'm doing this is, so I have stats, right? Then I have a list of stats in an SO, and it's kind of weird, I know, but there we have a stat SO list inside an SO, and if I change this, it changes the stats that are available to things like my characters, my items, all of that everywhere, which makes me feel good, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm figuring this out, okay? Okay, so what is an item? Okay, so an item, I mean, the item should obviously have some basic things like a name. And this is just going to be a public string name. But the more important part is the stats, right? The item stats. Okay, so, damn it. Am I really going to have to do this the way I did it the last time? Don't remember why this list is important. I think it's important when I want to loop through it for some reason. Why did I want to loop through this list? Man, who flippin' knows? I think I wanted to loop through it when I made this dictionary with... okay. I made a dictionary with the stat name as my key. And then the values, I put it in the dictionary. Which also meant I had to do all of this nonsense to set the dictionary values. And this is now for the character, but technically an item is doing the same thing, right? So an item would also have this, like a character does, right? And then each of these stats from the item right, I'm starting a data handling system. Oh, I'm way past that. I might have already started that like multiple streams ago. And I probably did it poorly. It's kind of sad, but anyway. It's what happens. Okay, so then I have this. And look at me just copying code, right? That's amazing. So I have this set dictionary values thing, which technically, since I'm reusing it, I shouldn't just copy paste. But, nobody's going to know. Who's going to know? Who will know? Yeah, I learn as I go. I make myself do things 5 times though, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, so this is basically what I want this to do. So I have an item, right? Follow me through this. You have an item. Oh, wait. This item is a scriptable object, so you can't flip and apply any of the stats into a dictionary or anything like that. Yeah. Do what makes sense for 3 days. Realize, well, it doesn't make sense anymore. Restart. Rinse and repeat. Okay. So this would at least... so if I save this, I mean, at least what I'd be able to do... Hello? How long is it going to take you to compile that one piece of thing that I just changed? The answer is a while because it changes everything. So I can come here to my test item and I can change the amount that it increases or decreases every one of these stats. Now, and I could leave it there, right? And I can just reference these. But what I've been doing is I have a stat SO, which has a enum for a name. So technically what I should do is link this damage that I have over there to this enum in some way. And that way I... Is that why I'm using scriptable objects all the time? I thought it was this guy's fault. Well, that's maybe why I'm using them terribly and... Well, you should have seen me use scriptable objects a couple of weeks ago. It was something special, I can tell you that. Okay. So the issue here is now I can already see the problem. This item, which is a scriptable object. Right, and I like making it a scriptable object because that means I can have an icon and stuff like that and a color or whatever. I can have other things in here and then I don't have to, I can just access them like I did with the character colors and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And technically the item doesn't have to be, like it's not going to be a physical thing in the world, so it doesn't need a game object, technically. We just need a scriptable object of it. Does it need to be a game object? It might have to be a game object. Okay, so I'm changing this, and then I have to run this to make a dictionary out of it so that I have a stat name, stat key value pair. Do I need to have it work that way, though? Probably don't. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I can always come back and add this later if I wanted. Now that I think about it, if this is not necessary here, why did I do it for the character? Then I don't need this either. We just need a item. The item needs to have a name, and it needs to have a bunch of other nonsense. Okay, this needs to be something like item name, because just name gives it something else, right? Okay, let's just work with this for now. It needs a GUID. I don't know what that is. What is a GUID? Okay, well, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to come here. Okay, so we have an item name. It's the test item, for all intents and purposes. It gives you 5 damage, 7 movement speed, 25 attack speed, 11 max health, critical chance. Oh, it's an item ID. Okay. I'll get around to that, right? I currently just need to... I'm actually not building items. I'm just trying to make... let's make the armor actually like -5. This is just for fun. Okay, and these ones don't mean anything. Luck and scavenging. And actually scavenging shouldn't be called that anymore, but anyway. So I'm not actually trying to make an item system work right now. What? Can I clear that? Hey, look, the arrow went away. Fantastic. I'm just making an item because I'm actually trying to make a different system work. And I needed to just have an item so that I can figure this out, because this is actually the part I'm struggling with right now. So I have character data, character inventory, character stat manager. Yeah, actually the item could work the same way as the character data did, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I just need something so that I can have my character data, which is obviously, well, not obviously, that's like the character stat inherent. Then they have an item, and then they need to get added together, and something needs to happen, right? But right now, I didn't have an item, so I just made a quick item, and yeah, became a bit of a rabbit hole. Mr. Human Limits YouTube, how's it going? Okay. So we technically have an item in our inventory. And I have no idea how the inventory will work. But let's suppose the inventory has a public list of items. Item SO. Right, and it's equipped items. Right, and I have no idea how to go from here. So you would do a class with all the stats. Okay. I mean, that's yeah. It's probably not a... It's also an idea. Now that would mean that I'd have to undo work that I did weeks ago. Look, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It might be a good idea. I just don't really have a good opinion on whether or not it's a good or bad idea. And I have a different idea implemented right now, so that's the idea that's going to stick around for a while. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Because currently I have... What I did was I had scriptable objects and then I had stat scriptable objects. So each stat is a scriptable object. Now the reason I did this was for the potential of, let's say you have critical damage, right? So in the stat SO, there's an enum that has all the names for stats that I can set for the different things. And as a little description, it can have an icon and then units, like if it's a percentage or whatever the case might be. And I have this float list of upgrade values. And this seemed to work pretty nicely because what this allowed me to do was come here and, you know, define what crit damage does. So crit damage, and then I can give it a little description, a value. And I realized I could do this inside of something else, but like just a class is possible. But you're saying, yeah, it clashes. It clashes or classes? Or is that an if? If classes have shared data, you can encapsulate the same variables into its own data container. So you're not pinpointing small points of data, everything creating heavy spaghetti code. That makes a lot of sense. I'll probably make that realization myself one day and come back and fix it. The problem is I'm not very familiar or experienced with software development, game architecture, or any other stuff. I'm new to Unity, I'm new to coding, I'm new to streaming. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm making mistakes. And in the end, I might release a game that has a bunch of spaghetti code in it. I know it does. Everybody that watched the stream knows it does. And then the game is going to be successful whether or not it has spaghetti code. Well, not successful. It will be successful or not, regardless of whether there is spaghetti code in the code base somewhere. And that's my approach at this point. I'm just going to try things. If it works, and I'm not willing to go back and fix it to make it work better, I'm just going to leave it. Unless it's really bad and it can make a massive difference to my future productivity. And then maybe I just do it then. Okay, but anyway, I can't even remember what I was doing. Character inventory. Okay, so we need a list of equipped items in the character inventory. Okay, that's good. So let's go to the knight. And let's just find our test item and equip it, right? So now the knight has a test item equipped, which is probably not great, but we'll work on the item system and fix all this later. I want the stat manager to do something. Okay, so first of all, this whole thing here goes away. This is not really needed anymore. I have so many things to think about now. I don't even know what I wanted to do at this point. Mr. Human Limits, you would do run ask ChatGPT and then run debug ChatGPT. Thank you, Demon, Mr. D-Demon. I suppose it's D-Demon, but whatever, maybe it's not. I'm going to follow that piece of advice. Okay, I'm going to follow the advice you just gave, which is don't follow advice on from Twitch chat. Yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? Everybody's going to do it differently and find their own way. Maybe it's scalable or less scalable. Maybe it's good, maybe it's less good. And you know what? Maybe I will stumble into the correct way of doing it. But you gave me a lot to think about, which I am grateful for. But yeah, since this is kind of my first time doing this, I get a bit flustered if I have too many ideas and too much information coming at me at once, right? It's like I still have to figure out some basic things before I could really optimize or improve, right? I'm in the implement phase, and then we can optimize and improve and refactor and change, and that's kind of the way I've been going about it. So let's continue doing it that way. Okay, so I have a character stat manager. Right, now this is where everything comes together, right? This is where the character data and the item data, or the inventory and all the items inside the inventory kind of come together, and something magical happens, right? Yes. Okay, so let's start with this. Should we do it alphabetical? Yeah, maybe we do it alphabetical. So I know where to look for stuff later. Okay, so let's start with the first stat. Choo-choo. Dianora, thanks for the raid. Thank goodness you guys weren't here 5 minutes ago. It was a nightmare. No, not really. I'm just getting flustered because game dev is hard, and I'm not a real programmer. But I'll become one day. I will be the very best, like no one ever was. I don't know if I should. You're at least fighting Unity. I'm fighting... I don't even know what I'm fighting at this point. I'm fighting Twitch chat. These guys, they keep derailing me completely. No, I'm trying to make an inventory system and all this nonsense, and it turns out there's many ways to do things, like an inventory system. Many people have different opinions of how to do that, and I've never made one, so they all sound equally good, and then I get completely derailed because I also have a way of thinking about this that makes sense to me. Then they use some heavy software engineer jargon in the chat, and then I get a bit flustered because I don't really know what they are talking about. It's like, right, it's data management, right? And I like data management. I know that's a fundamental part of software engineering. Like, how do you move data around? How do you manipulate? How do you store? It's all very fundamental to software engineering or software development in general, right? And since I don't have a software development background, I have a massive chasm in my knowledge when it comes to data management specifically. And now I'm trying to, wrangle a bunch of data, and it's kicking my ass. But I'll get there. And like I said, I will become the very best. I don't even know why I'm scrolling through my hierarchy anymore. Jeez, like it. What was I doing? Oh, I was looking for the alphabetical order of all my stats for some reason. Okay, this is the first one we do. Armor. Okay. We'll start with armor and we'll see if it works. Yeah, gotta catch them all. All them data structures and algorithms. Ugh. I mean, those just sound intimidating. You go to the random guy on the street, you tell him data structures and algorithms. So no, he's not going to feel good. Okay, so we start with, so our character stat manager, something has to happen with armor over here, right? Armor. And I use the American spelling. It's actually quite bad that I do that because I'm going to eventually start using that in real life. And that's it's going to not be great for me. Because we don't use American spelling in South Africa, it turns out. Because we are not in America. Anyway. So let's see, what did I do with armor back when I was doing the wrong thing with armor? Okay, this is what I was doing when I was doing the wrong thing with armor. Once I settle down with my use, you know what, I should take it out. This is now another form of inconsistency. I've been using the non-U version for the last couple of days, and now all of a sudden there's a U in there. It's gonna be confusing. Okay, so we could say that, and this script's gonna get deleted, so don't worry. I'm not copying because I'm bad. I've just it's moving. The functionality is gonna come here. So the armor would have to have something like this, where we apply our damage modifier whenever we take damage, right? Okay. So the character stat manager, we should have it have a reference to our character data and our character inventory. So let's do serialized field, character data. Data. Why do I? Private character data. We just call it character data. Okay, so it has a reference to that, and it should also have a reference to the not that. Character inventory. Called character inventory, right? So those things should exist. Okay. Now, character armor, getting the character armor should be as simple as now doing And now look at this. Character data dot. Now you would think that there's just an armor variable inside of this. There's not. There is, but you don't use it like this. You go upgrade character data dictionary. And this is now maybe a culmination of some of my bad decisions. And then we get the armor enum to get the character armor. Okay. And then we have the armored increase or decrease from items. So should we have inside of our character inventory a function that already adds all the armor values so that we can do something like character inventory dot get total armor? Oh no. Oh no. Dinara wants to make a suggestion. Go ahead. Go ahead, make a suggestion. Let's see how this can how this is gonna affect me. I'm very fragile at this point, so be gentle. Mr. Human Limits, what do I do for work? I do many things. I am a mechanical engineer by trade, and I'm quite I am a mechanical engineer with a master's degree, so I'm also a lecturer for mechanical engineers. So I teach third-year mechanical engineering courses at a university in the area, and then I also have a small business I run with all my free time. Right, all the free time that I still have left. Obviously, I have a ton of free time. Yeah, ask me something about material science. I can make you guys feel like you don't know anything. Unless there are some material scientists in the chat. Oh, here he goes. So, upgrade character data dictionary. Is an actual dictionary. Yes, it is. Okay. So, that makes a lot of sense. The other problem I have is... Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the problem I have is I already made this... I'm using this in so many places that it's already going to be a nightmare. To go and find and change them all. You are too late, Dinara. The damage has been done. It's too late for me now. I am committed to this way of doing things. No, but it makes sense. And I might have to go back and change it, to be honest, to be not a dictionary, potentially. No, it needs to be a dictionary. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I have troubles with the data in general, it seems. Because, like, I have a key, which is an enum. So, if you look into my character data script, right? I started off with just variables like this, which seem to work pretty well, right? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. No, don't worry, you haven't failed me. It's fine, I failed myself. But I had this, which was very simple. This is straightforward, right? This is basic things. You have a variable and you get the variable, and it worked fine. But then for some reason I got it in my head that it's better if we have it be a enum Okay, but now you need a way to connect this variable, which is damage, to the enum damage. And the only way I could think about doing that is either through a massive switch case statement thing, which is what I did initially, or a dictionary. And the dictionary at that point felt a little bit more palatable. Even though I already did all this. So I had an upgrade stat function, which you had to give the upgrade amount, so how much you want to upgrade it by, and you had to do an enum, so you had to give it the stat name. Then it goes through the switch case, and then I felt that felt icky, because I also then if you want to get the value now, so this was just setting the value, upgrading it, so to speak, and if you want to get it, you also need to. Oh, jeez, I'm so dumb. Anyway, then you needed to do another switch case. Now, you might think that I now saved myself some time by not having to write that second switch case. However, unfortunately, I did do that. Anyway, why am I doing this to myself? So I had to write that switch case because then I had the problem of populating my dictionary. So it's like, how do I populate the dictionary? Well, I need some kind of a switch case which matches the enum, which would be my key, to the value that I set over here in the inspector. Obviously, right? So then it's such a thing. Let's see, you did the same thing? You use scriptable objects as well. Okay. I won't ban you, don't worry. Okay, so you're saying that I don't need enums. I could just use the scriptable object. I might be missing something. I might be missing something with the enum thing. Yeah, I could just use magic strings instead. They also seem to work very good. They are fine, right? Nothing's gonna happen with my strings. Yeah, so technically, I guess... Hashtag strings for the win. Yeah, just get rid of all of this and just go back to strings. Right? Back to basics. Simpler is better. Don't need perfect architecture. I'm glad that's the case. If I can make this mess work, it's fine, right? I never have to come back to it. It could just be here. I must say, it does feel a little bit meh. Yeah. You know what? Refactoring is a thing. So if I ever feel like this is bothering me too much, I'll come back and I'll fix it. For now, let's continue with what we are doing. Okay, so we have the character stat manager. And I wanted to get the total armor from my character inventory based on all the items that are equipped. So we have a list of equipped items. So I guess we can just have a function public, which returns a float, get total armor. Right, and it should just do something like for each item. Whoa. Item SO in equipped armor, in equipped items. We can have a float here temporarily, total armor. And then we do... we set it to 0, I guess. I don't actually know. Yeah, it's Future Run's problem. He's going to have a good time. I am the Future Ruan to some past Ruan's problems. What? Something like that. I have to suffer because of decisions I made last week, today. And I guess some other version of me is going to experience the same the same issues sometime in the future. But it's fine, you know, it's fine. I'm in it. I have the tenacity, so I'll get through this. Okay, so if we get the total armor, we want to basically for each item in the item SO. So let's see, the item will have a armor value, right? We should probably do total armor plus equals item dot armor, right? Whatever the armor value is of the item, and then we just return total armor, right? That makes sense. Get total armor from all our list of equipped items. Okay. Shepherd. And then we can have a little function like this for every stat, I guess. And then there's probably a way of not doing it like that and instead doing something like get total stat amount, which is a generic function that can get any stat amount from our inventory. I will come bug you. It depends on the timing though. I don't know, you're in New Zealand, so what times are you deciding to stream? You might stream when it's in the middle of the night here. Around now-ish. Yeah, it could be possible. Well, I'll have to end my stream, I guess, to go and bug you. Okay. So get total armor. This would work. But if we somehow, and this is now where enums come in, right? So if we say get total of stat amount and we pass in an enum armor, and then we can basically just get the value for armor from our stat S, our item SO. Then our item SO also needs to have a dictionary that has an enum with armor in it with a value. So we can, You see now where this is going to get interesting again. Because now, I started with making this into a dictionary, but then I stopped because it felt bad. But now I can kind of see why I would need it to be a dictionary. Because it just makes it easier to get all the values. With generic functions like that, right? I mean, am I missing something? How can I... Or it's either a dictionary or a switch case. Those are the two ways, or a massive if-else statement. Those are the only two ways I can reasonably think about doing this. No, not to get the SO, but to get a specific value inside of the SO. So a switch case just makes sense to me. So you do something like public get get item stat, public. This should return a float, I guess, because all the stats are floats, and then you give it a stat so dot stat name. Right. And this is pretty much gonna be this every time. Yeah, the rest of the values would be 0. But what this would allow me to do is in the inventory, instead of get total armor, I can just get okay, let's just do get total of stat, something like that, and we need to get a stat so dot stat name dot, and we call it stat name, right? And then we have a float total stat equals 0, so we set it to 0 just to start off with, and then we go for each item in equipped items, we get total stat plus. So we do a get item dot get item stat, and we give it the stat name. Right, and now it's generic, isn't it? So now, whatever stat I want, I just pass in the stat name. And this function would always handle it. I don't need 20 functions for each stat, because I have 20 switch case statements inside of my item. So now it'll return the thing I want based on the stat name I give it. And your item might not have damage or armor or whatever, it might have something else, but it should still return the thing I want. So then when I do my armor, I can just do, I want actually stat so dot stat name dot armor. So pass in the armor. So you go to the character dictionary, you pass in armor. You go to your character inventory, you get the total of the stat of armor. And then your total armor calculations we do from there. One level deeper. Oh no, Dianara. So this is exactly actually what I started doing. Like literally an hour ago, I started making stat SO lists inside of my stat SO. Oh no, I have a stat SO, then I have a stat SO list SO, and yeah. So I was doing something like that. So my character SO currently has a list like that, because this thing is a complete mess. But anyway, yeah. So my character has this stat SO list SO, and this is not used anymore. But I was busy doing the same thing when it got a little bit derailed. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so here's my thing with that. Okay, so I create a new stat scriptable object, and then I add it to the item that should have that stat. How do I then change the amount of that stat it should have? You know what I mean? Like, is it serializable? Or do I create multiple stat SOs? Because the way I'm thinking about this, so let's say I have a list of stat SOs here. So we have a public list of stat SO, right? And we call it this our stat SO list, right? Apparently, okay, wait, I needed something that it didn't give me. This collections generic thing, yeah. So I have a list of stat SO, and I can add them, right, to each item. How do I then modify them, right? Because that's kind of my problem, because I have those generic stats over here, and I can go to my item and I can add them now, right? So I can click on my item. So here's my item. And I have a stat SO list, and it's obviously empty. But let's say I add a stat armor, right? So this item, test armor, has armor now as a stat. Okay, that's good. How do I change the armor amount? This is my problem. This is where I kind of, where the wheels fall off the bus. Or do I then still have this? I mean, I could still have this, I guess. But then what's the point of having a... It's like, yes, it has the stat armor, but the armor doesn't have a value associated with it. We still need to give it a value of 5 or 10. And it will be different for different items, right? Yeah, so this is where I'm stuck with this. And my armor stat has a value. Yeah, I don't know. Do I create multiple armor stats? Call it like shield armor stat, breastplate armor stat, knife armor stat, and then I'd have the value change there. Then I have multiple stats. Scriptable object, it just seems like a mess. I don't know why. It just seems like a terrible mess. Okay. An intermediate. You wish you could show me my system. Your system. You can show me on Friday. Maybe I'll come by. It's just so difficult with the time zones, to be honest with you. But yeah. But I can imagine. So you give him a stat. A stat list. You could still define it here. It just seems like it's unnecessary. If you're defining it here, it's fine, right? You have it. It's not a problem. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Let's just go with this. So we have our switch case thing going on, and it'll return based on the stat name that it gets, it'll return the correct value, right? So it's going to work at least. So then in our stat manager, when we have to apply our armor modification to damage taken, it'll get the character armor, which is based on the level or whatever, and it will get the item armor or the accumulated item armor, right? And this works, and then it can calculate the damage modification. Okay, so let's just live with this, right? I'm gonna live with this for now. Nah, I hear you, man. I do appreciate all the advice. It gives me a lot to think about. Between you, this guy, and the demon, I have a lot of things to think about in terms of architecture. And I might actually come back and change a lot of this. But I tend to code myself into a hole or a wall first before I really change anything. Shh. I can't mention you. So if I ever get to a point where I'm like, hey, this is not scalable or this is gonna break, I'd probably have enough motivation to come and fix it. Do I know what a struct is? No. I've heard of it, right? Like, I've heard of structs. Does anyone really? Oh, is this like a software engineer joke? I've heard of a struct. I might have even made one once in some tutorial or course that I did. But I can't remember for the life of me what it does or what it is. It'll replace my scriptable objects. What? Why even the scriptable objects a thing then? Why do we have two things that can replace one another? Oh, it's data containers. I seem to remember having done that before. But that's a concept in many different programming languages, eh? I only started using C# when I started using Unity. Before then, I fooled around with, Python most of the time, but also some C and other things. And I think I did use structs there. And obviously, scriptable objects weren't a thing because it wasn't Unity. Okay, but anyway. So we have the armor modification that can be applied to the damage. Now the question is, where did we currently reference this? And now we need to change this reference. So apply armor modification when we take damage was normally done over here. It is done here. Oh, okay. So this is in player take damage. Interesting. So the player takes damage. Oh yeah, this is okay. So the player can take damage, and then we apply the armor modification from our armor instance. Now we want this to go to the character. Maybe the character should be taking damage, not the player. Ugh. Okay. It's dragging and... Okay, cool. So scriptable objects do have a place then. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's something that's in the inspector. You can drag, you can modify, you can do all these funny things with it anywhere you want. Okay, so the player is taking damage, and when the player takes damage, you see, I need to redo all of this code, because you know what I did back in the day? I didn't apply damage to the character necessarily. I applied damage to the player. And inside the player, I had a reference to the character that was currently set active. And then I would change the health value, obviously, inside of the player, the character that is set active. And now everything is becoming character-centric instead of this player-centric way of doing it. Right? And cheers, Dayanara. You should also have a good one. A good one of whatever you're going to have. Probably a good evening, right? I'll have to go and have a good day. Oh, geez, it's already 7 o'clock. I need to leave. I have a lecture in an hour. Those poor students won't know what to do without me. I'm at least a mentor to somebody. I'm a student in the stream, but I'm a lecturer in reality. I have very specialized subject matter knowledge when it comes to mechanical engineering. And I'm a complete noob with code. Okay, I'll save this here and I'll come figure out how to make things character-centric compared to player-centric. The reason player-centric happened is because when I started making the game, I just had a player. Right, I made a player and I had one character inside of the player, and only later did this whole multi-character thing start happening, and then I had to, switch between characters and stuff like that, and a lot of the code still remained player-centric, and I just kind of figured out how to make the player reference different characters, basically. Which, I mean, let's just save this here. And let me send you guys off, though. There's still a few of you. So I'll send you off to some other stream, I think. Let's see. There's somebody that's doing something cool. Raid a channel. I don't really know any of these people. Who's a good one? Who should I raid? I don't know any of these people. None of my followers are online. My followers. None of the people I follow are online. That's what I wanted to say. You don't watch Twitch? What are you doing here, man? How did you get to this point? Yeah, I'm not allowed to sleep yet. Yes, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Tags. You guys want to watch Unity? Let's look for Unity tags, and then you can go teach some other guy how to code in Unity. And then I can go rest. Yes, I shouldn't take this long. I need to get going. Why is nobody online that I know? Dainara, come back online so I can raid you. Am I even in the same category? Oh, jeez. This guy, go start your stream, then I'll raid you. Okay, what is this? That's a guy with a hat? we'll send you off to the guy with her hat. And let's... He's got no Unity tag. But I searched for Unity tag. Ah, jeez. Okay, here's a guy with a Unity tag. Active Mind Gamer. Let's see what he's about. Well, guys, enjoy the stream. Thank you for joining my stream, and I hope you enjoy the next stream. I'm sending you off to some random person. Hopefully it's enjoyable. Like, I don't know him yet. I haven't watched any of his streams, so... Well, we'll see how it goes. Let's start the raid and see what happens. Anyway, have a good day, a good evening, a good afternoon. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, same game, same broken code, same person. Yeah, enjoy, eh? Cheers. Oh wait, I needed to do a thing here. This I need to do. Okay, there we go. Cheers.